This is the Orange Zone, sponsored by Apex Entertainment.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Orange Zone podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are Syracuse sports reporters. This podcast is sponsored by Apex Entertainment. Shout out to our friends over at Apex Entertainment. Really great spot. They host things for us. We've done some live Orange Zone episodes there. It's in the mall at Destiny USA, so feel free to go and check it out. Today we're here to talk about tournament time for men's and women's college lacrosse. Some exciting things going on. 5 New York teams on the men's side who are in this year's tournament. Of course, Syracuse women's lacrosse, always involved in there somewhere. It's an exciting time to be a lacrosse fan in Central New York, Ashley.
Yeah, the culmination of lacrosse season. I know we were going into last weekend with, some high hopes for each of the teams in their conference tournaments, and then we went 3 for 3 on Sunday. Cornell wins the Ivy League, Syracuse wins the ACC, and Colgate wins the Patriot League for the men's. So, I didn't think we were going to go 3 for 3. It's pretty crazy.
I had high hopes.
Yeah.
But you know how I feel.
Right.
Hope's not a strategy.
Right.
I didn't think we were going to go 3 for 3 at all.
No.
Honestly, the most I would have been willing to bet on and feel comfortable was 1.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I was a betting woman, I would have said 1 for 3 and probably put my money on Cornell.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else was a surprise, at least to me. I thought that Syracuse wouldn't be able to get past Notre Dame. They did. They got past Notre Dame and Duke. Notre Dame, the 1 seed in that tournament, and they ultimately won. Colgate, kind of the same thing, got past 1 seed Army, who's a really, really good team.
Yeah.
Missed the tournament, but quite honestly, even at the end of the year, was within the top 5 in most of the media national polls. So there's kind of a little bit of, some people are upset about that, a little controversy surrounding that, which we'll get into. But the point is, Central New York is absolutely balling out, and there's so many things that we're excited to watch this week. Let's start with the Syracuse men. Keep it here. 11-5 overall. Again, won the ACC championship for the first time since 2016, beat a 1 seed, beat a 3 seed. Tough matchups, too, close matchups. That championship game against Duke was a 9-8 win. And up next, they are going to be facing a Harvard team this Sunday at 5 o'clock in the JMA Dome that beat them a couple months ago. It was one of their only losses in the regular season.
Yeah, that was really maybe the first ugly loss for Syracuse back in February. Harvard comes to the Dome. They beat them by 1. It was only 15-14 in that game. And that was a little bit of a surprise. I know there were some comments that I sort of resurfaced yesterday because I was like, wow, that's relevant now again, of Harvard head coach Jerry Byrne. He said at the time after Harvard beat them, he was like, this Syracuse team is so good. They're a Final Four team. Watch out for Syracuse down the stretch. And now I would say that he probably hopes that he has a hand in making them not be a Final Four team. But definitely an interesting matchup there. They got the 6th seed thanks to winning the ACC tournament. I was just impressed, really, by what I saw with them in the ACC tournament. They really came into that tournament sort of at a crossroads, right? You lose 3 straight, headed into the postseason. The vibes are just not good. Your last game that they had won was against Notre Dame in the regular season in early February. To say that they went into Charlotte in the ACC tournament at a low point would be an understatement. And they came out there and completely exceeded expectations and fought to really resurrect the season, because I would say headed into that, if they didn't win either game, they were certainly a bubble team for the NCAA tournament.
Well, and this is what I love so much about college lacrosse, and I will say this, the point I'm about to say particularly pertains to the men's side. College lacrosse is not a big sport. On the men's side, you're talking about 70-something teams nationwide.
Yeah.
And that's why the field is so small, by the way, 18 teams this year. But they're so competitive and so evenly matched amongst so many of these teams that you really never know what's going to happen. And I was looking just at some of the results from the conference tournaments. So many 1 seeds going down. That's how you want it to feel. It kind of does have that March Madness feel about it. You're never out and anything can happen on any given day. Obviously just a high scoring game. Lacrosse is, of course, a game of runs. But to your point, it was retro Syracuse. It was the Syracuse of old, at least flashes of it. And I really do believe this. I think Syracuse men's lacrosse is a team that is really based around team success as opposed to individual success. Yes, there obviously is always 1 or 2 guys who you need to look out for. I guess, for instance, this year I would say probably Owen Hiltz, Joey Spallina, and a couple of others, Sam English. But again, it's you never really know who the biggest threat's going to be on any given day.
Yeah.
It's about the creativity and the way they move the ball and how their offense is operating. Syracuse has a good defense this year. They have a great goalie. Jimmy McCool just won ACC Goalie of the Year. It's a matter of how their offense is going to perform, which, like you said, at times has been wonky. But I like this matchup for them, going up against a team that they're at least familiar with. You know, I get it that they lost to Harvard. That was also their first loss, by the way, to Harvard ever out of 19 all-time matchups.
Right.
I don't anticipate that happening twice. That's not going to happen again.
I mean, I certainly hope not. I think what we saw from them in the Duke game was really, like you mentioned, that retro Syracuse, that gritty style of lacrosse, right? We saw them take a lead in that game. Again, anything can happen when you get into this tournament time. Duke's a team they lost to in the regular season, 11-7. They looked horrendous when they played Duke the first time, completely flipped that narrative the second time in the ACC championship game. But you saw them also really have to rely on their defense. They have a lot of weapons on offense. They have a ton of guys who can score at any given moment. Like you said, Spallina, Hild, Sam English, Finn Thompson at times. We saw him with like the craziest goal of all time in that game, the behind the back situation. No look, crazy. Go back and watch it if you haven't seen it, genuinely. So they have that multi-threat offense, but then I think what also really won them the game on Sunday in that championship game was their defense, right? They take a maybe 3-goal lead at one point, and Duke comes all the way back to almost tie it, and in the last second, they have like a wide open, no-look shot. The kid missed the shot, but it's Jimmy McCool and it's the defense that I think has been the difference for them in this stretch run.
Completely agree, and I feel like it is important to understand why I say, you know, or why I feel heavily about the offense and that being an important factor towards their success in this tournament is because, to your point, the defense has been relatively consistent. And barring a couple of games in the regular season, Harvard actually being one of them, that was a bad game for Jimmy McCool in the defense has been consistent. So it is going to be a matter of how well this offense performs, in my mind, as far as how long they are willing to go for in this tournament. Your point about Finn Thompson, I think, is an important one to bring up. It's funny. I think some coaches and some teams maybe get a little bit nervous around playoff time. I think that's the perfect time to take risks. Like, if you're Syracuse, I know that a lot of that stuff seems kind of out there. They do the no-look passes, the no-look shots, behind the back, creative, high risk. But if that's your style, then you need to stay true to it, even in these high-pressure moments. So that's what I'm hoping to see. If you guys are curious about the Finn Thompson goal that we're discussing, I have a breakdown of that on our Orange Zone Instagram page. So go follow us on Instagram or YouTube Shorts. We post a lot of the stuff that we discuss on there.
Another thing for them that I just have to mention before we move on, that's been such a difference for this team from last year and years past, right? This is Gary Gates. That was Gary Gates' first ACC championship as a head coach, which, to be honest, I think he really needed. And I think that was really a positive notch in Gary Gates' belt. But something that's been a real difference for them all season long that I don't even think people have been talking about enough is face-offs. Johnny Mullen has been absolutely money at the face-off X, and that is something that the Syracuse team struggled with last year especially, but the last few years prior. So face-offs and possession time has been really, really valuable for them. And I think you sort of start to see where they're going in a game based on how the face-offs are going pretty quickly. If things are not going well face-off wise, you can sort of get a feel of where they're going. If they are going well, there's a better chance that they're going to win the game, which obviously is for any team. But
he also, to give Johnny Mullen a little credit, is an offensive threat too. I was looking at the highlights that you shot from the Harvard game. There are times where he's winning that faceoff and he is headed straight to the cage. I love that. I love that fast style of play, and I totally agree with you. I think especially in men's lacrosse, goalie play, you know, face-offs, those are make or break components. That's how you really do win or lose a game. So it's good to know that Syracuse has like some of the X factors kind of in their corner. So again, Harvard Sunday, home game, 5 o'clock in the Dome. Like, that's pretty much as electric as it gets for Central New York lacrosse. So, you know, go out, check it out. I think it's going to be a good game. And to your point, in that press conference, just so you guys really do understand, it wasn't even just, you know, Jerry Byrne who had nice things to say about Syracuse. Gary Gate, similar sentiment. You know, he's like, this is an up-and-coming team, but it's a team that's never going to quit, never going to give up. And I think there was a lesson learned there. So we always say everything happens for a reason. Maybe they lost that game so that they'd be better prepared now. Over on the women's side for Syracuse women's lacrosse, totally different feel. Syracuse men's lacrosse, it felt like they were kind of in a hole and they got totally out of it. This women's lacrosse team has been in a slump. Historically speaking, if you look at I'm saying from their ACC record, their overall record, way down here. I mean, they made it into the tournament, but 9-8 overall, 5-4 in the conference, lost in the first round of the ACC tournament. That's like unheard of for them. And unseeded, and will go into this tournament unseeded. So again, I think Nothing wrong with that per se, but those are factors to keep in mind as you watch this team.
Yeah, this has been the worst, I think, most challenging year in the Kayla Trainer era for sure, and it's not particularly close. I also don't think that's particularly her fault. She had a lot of her veteran seniors graduate last year, move on. Delaney Schweitzer goes to Northwestern. You had a lot of pieces leave her. This is a young team. It's a scrappy team. It's a team that does know how to lose because they have significantly more losses this year than we've seen in years past. I think you've seen a lot of young pieces step up, right? You still have Emma Ward. She's the grad student. She is the veteran that's left over. But you also have Jolie Caramelli, a Caroline Trinkus, who are freshmen and sophomores that have really been the difference on this team in the games that they have won. So I think they're scrappy. I think they're going to want to win this game. They're going to want to prove that, you know, they are on the path to being the Syracuse of old as they continue to grow up and get older. But I think this was sort of a development transitional year for them to begin with. So even to see them in the tournament is a positive sign.
Like when people say rebuilding year, this is the definition of that.
Yes.
Like fully, like the entire structure came down.
Yeah.
And then you needed to renovate the entire thing again.
Yep.
It really was that many pieces that were lost. So to your point, I am not sitting here by any means and saying, you know, that the majority of this is Kayla Trainer's fault.
No.
I think a lot of it was circumstantial. And how else are you going to, you know, this isn't a sport like football and college basketball right now where you could just be reeling in all these different transfers and having enough players to play with right away. Like, I kind of think in women's lacrosse, you really do have to build the players who you recruited.
Yes.
So a lot of these players, you're going to be hearing these names for several years and they're going to get better and better. But right now it's a very young team. And in playoff situations, that lack of leadership is going to matter.
Yeah.
Important to note, or I guess I'll start here. Up next for Syracuse women's lacrosse, it's the second ever meeting against Brown at 4 o'clock this Friday in New Haven, Connecticut. Brown's head coach, just to throw it out there, her name is Katrina Dowd. She is an attacker, and she actually was on the staff at Syracuse in 2012, helping to lead the Orange to the NCAA championship game for the first time in program history. So expect that to be a storyline, right? It's all in the family. I feel like a lot of people have Syracuse connections in the women's lacrosse
I feel like
world.
women's lacrosse is all in the family.
You know what I mean? Don't you feel like every single person, it's like she started her career here, or she played here, or she had some involvement.
Or even like Kayla Trainer, who coached at BC for a while, and now they're rivals, right? So funny how that stuff works.
Oh, it's all in the family. Speaking of, because you mentioned BC, I also want people to hear this. Syracuse is in Boston College's quadrant, so they would have to play them in the quarterfinals if they make it that far. That game for Syracuse this year in the regular season was the worst thing that happened to them, and it was not close.
That was a disaster.
Disaster
Like,
class.
and that's not an over-exaggeration.
No, really, really bad. I don't remember the score off the top of my head, but it was
like
something in the
11-2.
realm of, it was like Syracuse, I think, scored like 4 goals, and I think Boston College scored even more than that, maybe 16 or something.
Mess.
Horrific.
Yeah.
Like, even in years, listen, Boston College has owned Syracuse at least for as long as I've been covering them, probably longer than that. They win in the playoffs. They win in the times when it matters. Syracuse will get one in the regular season, but then every time that an important game comes along, it's the Eagles. It's never been that far out, though.
Well, it's been a dogfight. Years past, last year and the year before, it was like that was the game. Mark your calendars. Syracuse did beat them once, and Boston College beat them, but Boston College would always end up winning at the tournament. So, yeah, that's been the rivalry. I think this year that rivalry is a little bit further apart. There's a bit of a chasm there, just like we said, the young team, the whole situation. Honestly, to be honest with you, I think if Syracuse can win this first game against Brown and even advance in the NCAA tournament, that would be a win for them in terms of the whole of this season, the bigger picture.
Completely agree. So I think with Syracuse women's lacrosse, taking it one game at a time is important, and who knows, anything can happen, but Boston College, really, really strong team this year. So just keep that in mind down the road. Couple other things we wanted to point out for you guys. Jumping back to the men's side for a second. I mentioned 5 New York teams, 3 Central New York. Cornell men's lacrosse, man. We got to talk about it a little bit. Got the 1 seed, 14-1 overall record. Only loss of the entire season was a 13-12 overtime loss to, at the time, number 8 Penn State back in March.
Right.
That's remarkable in lacrosse to have those kind of numbers. This team, I don't know if they'll win the championship. I know they are the best team in the field.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I've spent a large amount of time down in Ithaca in the last week or so watching this team, and the caliber of lacrosse that they are putting on the field is, I do not think that there's a better team in college lacrosse than Cornell right now. They have so many weapons on offense. They're just a complete cohesive team. Obviously, you have CJ Kirst, who recently broke the men's all-time scoring record. He is unbelievable, one of the best talents that we'll ever see to play this sport. Tewaaraton favorite as well. So he's just phenomenal game in and game out. Through the Ivy League tournament, it was really Kirst, Michael Long, his senior teammate, who he was also teammates with in high school. And then there is a sophomore as well. I believe it's Ryan Goldstein. Those three, it's been like the three-headed monster. They had, here's a little stat for you just to show you how well those three did offensively in the Ivy League tournament. 45 points between the three of them in 2 games.
No.
45 points.
Really?
I mean, astounding. Truly astounding.
That's odd.
Yeah.
Also, I think, there are times where you have the best team in the field and you don't have the best player, or you have the best player and you don't have the best team. But I feel like Cornell is a unit because they really have both. I actually think they are the most complete team.
Yep.
And I do believe they have the best player in college lacrosse.
Yeah.
I do think that CJ Kirst is that right now.
Yeah.
So to have both of those things, I mean, man, I felt like Syracuse even played a great game against them and they still lost.
Yeah.
Like, they're the kind of team that you can even stay close with maybe for a while, but it just seems like at some point they're just going to knock you down offensively.
Yeah.
They score so many goals.
Yeah, and they've been battle tested, right? That Ivy League championship game against Princeton, they were losing by 4 in the third quarter. I looked up and it was 12-8. Pouring rain in Ithaca, mess of a day on Sunday. And then they come back to win it, and when they turn it on, when that momentum switches for them, they literally become an unstoppable force. They end up winning by like 6 goals or 5 goals. It was like 20-15 at the end. They were down by 4 in the fourth quarter. So it's a team that can fight back. It's a team that, like we said, has numerous weapons on offense. Wyatt Nust has been great for them in goal as well. And I think that sometimes you see a team, right, in any sport, in any tournament, in anything, and you look at a team and you're like, wow, that team has the runaway momentum right now. And for me, that's what Cornell feels like. I agree with you in terms of, I think they are surely the best team in the tournament. The best team doesn't always win, but I think when you combine the best team with the best player and maybe the best momentum, could be a dangerous thing.
They're the favorite, that's for sure. Their first round game will be against either number 19 UAlbany or number 20 Siena College. That will be a part of a play-in game. Just to describe that for a minute, just for any of you guys who are unfamiliar, it's an 18-team field, and the first thing that will happen is that it's going to go from 18 teams to 16 teams because there's going to be 2 play-in games that happen earlier in the week. And the reason why they do it that way is because the NCAA has essentially determined how it starts 18. It's 10 automatic qualifiers, 8 at-large bids. The NCAA rules say that it should be even to, I guess, start really in the first round, 8 and 8. So the 2 teams with the lowest, I guess, ranking out of the automatic qualifiers, the 4 teams with the lowest ranking will play each other. That's how it goes from 18 to 16. So anyway, that's one of those games, Siena and UAlbany. So whoever the winner of that is will go up against Cornell. And we'll have to see. I found this today. I thought this was interesting too. Cornell men's lacrosse won the national championship in 1977, and that championship team was actually the last Cornell team to win an NCAA title in any sport.
It's a long time.
There's been a little bit of a drought, so it has all that momentum.
Could this be the year?
And that feel to kind of get back on track. We'll see what happens. Last but not least, just to mention it, Colgate men's lacrosse, again, same thing. Totally upset Army. In a very surprising way, at least to me.
And then BU, I think both were upsets.
Yeah, definitely. I thought, and I know that some of you might know about this if you're college lacrosse fans, Army, like, were they to have won the Patriot League tournament, obviously they'd be in. But I don't know. I think even if they won the semifinals, it would have been a larger conversation. They blew it in the tournament, or in the Patriot League tournament, but that was an amazing team. They are not in the field anymore. Colgate is. And like Ashley said, won against Army and BU. This was a team, honestly, that had varying levels of success throughout the season and definitely did lose some games. Like were they to have not won the Patriot League tournament, they would not be here.
No, they started off really hot. I know we were even talking about them at the beginning of the season in February. Like, well, look at Colgate. I think they had a little winning streak in there. Maybe don't quote me on that, but I feel like they started off 5-0, started hot, sort of came back down to earth a little bit, and then went on another run here approaching the tournament. I was impressed by them, sort of a similar sentiment as to what I said about Syracuse. Obviously, beating Army was, I mean, a huge accomplishment when you look at the talent that Army had and kind of where people expected that Army team to go. But even Boston University, headed into that Patriot League championship game, I was sort of looking at it on Saturday night, looking ahead, okay, who could really win that game? BU smoked them in the regular season, and then they came out and smoked BU on Sunday. So you never know what's going to happen in these tournaments, but I mean, 17-10, that game was not close. They wanted that Patriot League.
Yeah, playing their best lacrosse at the right time. Here's the bad news. You know how earlier I said to you that Cornell only lost one game in the regular season and it was to Penn State? That's Colgate's opponent. That's who they're playing now.
Yeah, to say I would be
Horrific draw.
To say no, bad draw. I thought that when I saw them announce it on the selection show on Sunday night when it came up like Penn State, Colgate. I was like, oh. To say I would be shocked if Colgate beat Penn State would probably be an understatement. Not to mention it's at Penn State.
It is. The Raiders have played Penn State the last 2 years during the regular season. Colgate fell 14-9 to Penn State in its season opener this year, but they did shock the then number 4 ranked Nittany Lions 13-12 to open the season last year. I remember that game.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my God. Like, how is that even possible? Colgate is a weird team. They have this 10-man ride situation going on that people talk about a lot. They do a lot of things in an untraditional way.
Yeah.
And honestly, because of that, I feel like anything weird can happen. But still, Penn State is like a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Like it's a team that has had a strong season.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like you said, anything can happen. So obviously we'll be rooting for them and covering that game if you guys want that coverage.
Yeah. Colgate has the Connor brothers who've been really impressive. Liam and I believe it's Ryan Connor offensively. And then they also have to give a shout out to a local kid. Matt Lacombe is their goalie, and he is a graduate of Fayetteville Manlius right here in Syracuse. So he, I believe, was the Patriot League tournament MVP. He has been locked down in goals. So we're seeing some goalies get some flowers.
He's been disgusting.
Yeah.
I am pretty sure that he had 24 saves in the Army game.
That's what it was.
That is,
I mean, I'm sorry.
not normal. Like, is it a hockey game? Like,
No.
it really like was crazy. Like
He's
those
been
are not numbers you
phenomenal.
often hear.
Yeah.
Once you're eclipsing 20+ saves.
Yeah.
It's a good day for you, bro.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously they have that in their corner as well. Good goalies definitely lead to good things. Last but not least, just so you guys know, that game we just mentioned, UAlbany, Siena, 2 other New York teams. Again, like interesting stuff going on here. UAlbany took down 1 seed Bryant, and that's how they won the America East tournament. And Siena won the MAC after taking down the 1 seed Sacred Heart. So a lot of upsets in these conference championships, which leads to some really interesting matchups now this week.
Yeah, and that game, that UAlbany-Siena game, will take place on Wednesday night in Albany. So Cornell, will know who Cornell is playing essentially Wednesday night, who they're going to face on Sunday night. So Sunday, with the 5 o'clock Syracuse game and the 7:30 Cornell game, obviously both home games, going to be hard for people to get to both because they're, an hour away and in such close time proximity. But that is going to be a fun night of lacrosse Sunday night if you're watching at home.
That's a night where you need the split screen. You need the split screen
The
TV.
remote isn't even good enough.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
totally
Syracuse
agree.
will wrap up, but like I need both.
I want both at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you so much, as always, for following along. We appreciate your support. Follow us on Instagram, social media, anywhere that you like to watch or listen to your podcast, and subscribe. That really helps us out when you subscribe to these podcasts. So thanks. We will see you back here next week.